G'day everyone, Ali here. Well, Mother's Day is just around the corner and you may not have time to make a Mother's Day card, but I'm going to show you today how you can make a card in about 10 minutes with some simple supplies. So you'll need some supplies, and I've got some double-sided designer paper here, which is Kaiser Craft designer paper, and you do really want a double-sided. I have got my card base here, which measures 10.5 centimetres by 15 centimetres, and I've got that in the cream cardstock. I've also got this scalloped circle die by Kaiser Craft, and I've already cut out the smallest circle here, and I've run that through my Sizzix machine with a embossing folder of leaves. So that's what I'm going to use on this card also. I've got some Distress Oxide in bundled sage, which I'm going to use, but it's not necessary. I've got some brads. I've got this AliExpress Mother's Day sentiment here, and I've got some flowers that I've just bought from the cheap shop, and this butterfly that I found. I am going to use some brown cardstock as well on top of the cream, and each of these has been cut 0.5 centimetre smaller than the previous size. So this is 15 by 10.5. My brown one here is going to be 14.5 by 10 centimetres, and this one here is going to be 9.5 centimetres by 13.5 centimetres. I'll link everything down below and over on my website. So I'm going to work on the top part of my card first, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a slit in the middle here towards the middle. So I'm just going to get my scissors, my other scissors here, and I am just going to eyeball halfway, and I'm going to cut it to halfway in. Okay, so it's just going to be slit halfway through. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this part of the cut side up towards the corner of the card. And this is why I wanted double-sided paper, because this side will actually be shown on the front of the card. So I'll just fold that up. Okay, now you can use your bone folder here. It's not necessary, but you can if you want. So I'll just grab my bone folder and just put a crisp fold there. And I'm going to do the same on this side here. So I'm just going to fold that towards the other corner diagonally, and I will just fold that down. Now it doesn't matter if the fold is in a little bit and not right to the end of the cut mark, because this circle here will cover up that part there. I'm just going to use these brads here just to put in the corners of this. So I've got my ceramic tool here, and I just want to pop in a little slit in the corner of the paper here. So, and it just makes it easier for the brad to go into the paper, because I am putting the brad into 2 layers of paper here. And I do want to put it not right in the corner, but just a little bit in, as it's just going to be a decorative finish. So I'll just pop that in, and then just on the other side, just open up the barbs here, and you won't see that from the front there. So I'm going to do the same to the other side here, and just eyeballing it. So I do want it roughly the same measurement in. I'll just put my brad in, and then just open up the back barbs here, so that'll hold it in place just nicely. So on the front here, you can see that this is what the front of my card's going to look like, and that's why I wanted double-sided paper here. So I've got my word sentiment die here, and I've got 2 Happy Mother's Day sentiments, but this one's a little bit too big. So I've got another sentiment here, and it's a little bit on the smaller side. So I'm going to use that one there, and I'm going to stamp it straight onto the brown cardstock here. So I'm just going to get my stamping platform here, and this is the Tonic Tim Holtz one, and I absolutely love it. It's a really good investment. So I'll just put my brown cardstock in there, and I'm just going to get the top part here, and I do want to just make sure that the sentiment is going to stamp where I want it to. So I don't want it going underneath, but I do want it going about halfway in line with where those two folded parts meet. So I'll just pop that in, and that looks about right. But just bearing in mind that I have got this circle die cut here, so I don't want it covering up my sentiment at all. So I do want it going closer to the edge rather than closer to the middle. So that looks about right there. Now I'll just close that up just so it gets that, and I'll just remove my top part because I don't need that. Now I'm going to emboss this with Distress ink in Picket Fence. So the Distress inks do stay wet a little longer, which is great if you want to use embossing powder. Now this is my favourite embossing powder, so this is clear superfine, and I absolutely love this. Now the best part of a stamping platform is if it doesn't stamp right the first time, you can go in a second or third time until you're happy with the stamping. So this is a really nice fine font as well, so I do love this font, and don't forget I'll link everything down below and on my website. Now I do like using the clear embossing powder opposed to a coloured embossing powder, because it makes it a little bit easier. I like to use a coloured ink with clear embossing powder. Some people like using a clear embossing ink with a coloured embossing powder. Now why I do like what I do is you don't really have to use an embossing buddy because I'm only using clear embossing powder, so it's not going to get everywhere as well. So I'll just dry this off and heat the embossing powder. So that's all set, and I'm really happy with how this has turned out. So now I can actually put the top layer of this card together, and I'm just going to use some double-sided adhesive tape to stick this down onto my brown cardstock. So I'm just going around all sides of this just so I don't want it to move at all. And what I'll do is I'll end up releasing all the tape on this because there's only pretty well much one side that I need to have it in line. Okay, so I'll just remove all my backing tape here, and then I can just line up this card corner to corner. So I do want to make sure that there is equal parts of the brown cardstock showing underneath around the border. So I'm pretty happy with that. So now all I have to do now is just finish decorating the front of this card. So I have got this embossed circle here, and I'm just going to use my Distress Oxide ink just to run around the edge of the circle here. Now this colour here, Bundled Sage, is a very close colour to this Kaiser Craft designer paper, so I wanted to pick that up in the colour. So it's a very close colour. So I'll just go around the edge, and you don't have to do this. It's optional. So you can do as little as you want or as much as you want. So that will go on top here. So I'll just stick that down just with some double-sided adhesive. Or you could use foam tape, or you could use glue. You could use a dot liner, whatever you have. So I'll just pop that on the card here. I'll just release the backing here. And then I'll just pop that on. Now I've got these flowers here, and I got these from just the local Stacks or cheap, the dollar store. So I have got a butterfly. I think this is the last of my butterflies, but I do have these flowers here, and I think the flowers will go really nice on here. So I'm not sure which one I'm going to use. I've got these green ones, but I think they're a little bit too small. So I think I'm going to put these or one of the purple flowers onto the cream cardstock. Now these are have got some foam tape on the back, and with these I do like to just pop a little bit of PVA glue just on the back because I have had these for quite a while. So I'm just going to just pop that on, and I think that looks pretty good actually. So I'm pretty happy with that. So now I'll just use my double-sided adhesive tape just to pop this the brown part or the top part of my card to the base of my card. Now when I do cards like this, I do like to put the adhesive tape around the edge, and I do like to just release two opposite corners. So it just makes it easier for me to line up the card base. There's nothing worse than having a card base that's crooked. Now I also like to put a little bit of PVA glue just on the back here as well, just for a bit more of stability and just to make sure that it's not going to pop off in time. So what I'm going to do, the corners that hasn't been released, this is what I'm going to use to line up the edge of the card. So once that's all lined up, then I can release the backing of the adhesive tape. So that's my card finished. So about 10 minutes it takes to do a card, so not bad at all. So I'm going to make a few of these. I've got a friend that wants about 3 of them, so I'm going to do some of these to give to her. So, and it looks very effective as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this video today and have found some inspiration to do your own Mother's Day cards. Like I said, it only takes 10 minutes roughly. So I'll link everything down below. I hope you've enjoyed this. Please give me the thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing to my channel, and if you do, don't forget to hit that notification bell. And until next time everybody, happy crafting! See ya!